All right, we did it. It's finally time. We've hit the milestone. Well, almost hit the milestone. And if you think for 1 second that this is anything other than a coincidence, that I spent the last 5 miles riding around staring at the odometer in a circle around the neighborhood just so I can get to 596, then, well, you'd be right. But let's do an oil change. Yep, so today we're doing an oil change, and I also want to change the coolant just because. And so this is going to be a step-by-step guide on how to do that. So step 1, grab your owner's manual, service manual if you got it, even better. And step 2, follow the instructions. But in all seriousness, it is pretty much that simple. I mean, pretty much we're just going to drain some fluid, swap it out, and then there's an oil filter in there somewhere. In this case, I'm going to do the coolant first just because it's morning, the bike is cold, and you don't want to do the coolant when it's warm because it's pressurized, it's hot, all that stuff. So we'll do the coolant first, and then we'll warm up the bike, ride it around a little bit, get the oil warm, and then we'll do the oil change. Okay, actual step 1. In this case, we have to get the guard, the skid plate, out of the way. I believe it's just 2 bolts, pretty straightforward. And then back here, this water pump on the very bottom here is a bolt with a brass washer or a crush washer, and that's going to be our drain bolt. So we need to have access to that, obviously. So this has got to go. There's one bolt down here hiding. This should pop up. Yeah, we're gonna get this cracked. I'm not gonna put it all the way off yet because I wanna make sure that I catch things. Now, I haven't taken the top cap off yet, but once I do, this is gonna go from a dribble to basically just absolute waterfall. So we'll have to make sure that the pan is here to catch it. Usually you have to hold it up like this just to make sure nothing's gonna spill everywhere, but we'll at least get this ready to go. It's not really going anywhere. Drain bolt came out. And absolutely nothing. Now for the fun part. Oh, hello. Well, there's no oil in it, so that's good. We're down to a drip, so let's lean it over. And back in it goes. Don't go ham on these things. Good enough. Now all we gotta do is fill it up. I got this stuff, Cool and All. Weird name, but from Maxima, so I use their oil. So why not use the coolant? It was on sale. Looks like Surge. Whoop. That's right at the top. Just lean it. Yeah, it's already down. Mostly have to lean it on this side so it'll fill up the other radiator. Yep, even just doing that once, it's already down. Add some more Monster Energy. There's some gurgles. So I think we can cap this now. We'll run it just for a few minutes so it'll run through the system, get any air out of there, and then we'll pop this back open, and it'll probably be down just a little bit, but then we can top it off and be done. All right, coolant flush, check. Riding it around, the engine temperature is not spiking. It's normal, so that's good. Means we did what we were supposed to do. On to the next step. And another reason why we're out riding is for the engine oil. So we're gonna get that up to temperature here. Just riding around, just like 5 minutes or so, just a couple miles around the neighborhood. So we'll head back to the garage now. It's nice and warm. We'll let it sit for a little bit because we don't want it too warm. We don't want to burn ourselves. Gives us enough time to let everything kind of settle at the bottom so that we're getting all the oil. Pull out the old oil and throw some new oil in it. All right, so we got the engine ticking cool, but the engine oil is still warm so we can work with it. And we have our essentials right here. So we got the owner's manual, of course, for instructions, just to make sure we're not missing anything. Got a new oil filter to throw in. This is from Tusk. There's no oil filter number on this, but I believe off the top of my head, it's 116, which would be the equivalent for K&N or high flow. If I'm wrong, I can correct myself right there. And we have just some regular old conventional Valvoline 10 weight 40. Nothing really special about this stuff. I just had it laying around, and I think it's probably a good idea at the early stages. It's still kind of in its break-in period. I mean, it's low miles, so I think it's fine to throw in some conventional stuff. I'll probably go to synthetic in the future. So as always with any oil change, the next step is drain pan underneath, which we have. So we'll drop the old oil. I'll also point out here, this is a really weird looking oil drain bolt. I actually have not seen this style with the Allen key, so it's actually a 10mm Allen. Normally you'd see like a 14mm bolt or something like that. It's actually one of those things I'm going to take note of for my toolkit, so I'm going to actually find another 10mm hex to make sure that I throw in there, just in case. Shouldn't be too much. Ow. This is probably going to go everywhere because this is such a huge bolt. I don't know why they did that. That's really weird. And here we go. Hello. Yep. Just as I suspected, it goes everywhere. So we'll let that drain while I clean up this bolt. Alright, looks like that's pretty drained, but we have it lean, so there we go. I knew there was going to be a little bit. Ah, so that's the secret. Rock it back and forth a little bit, so there must be a chamber in there somewhere. It's just kind of dribbling out at this point, so let's get it nice and clean. We'll just hand tight this a little bit. Now that that's in, one last wipey wipe, and we will tighten it. We will not torque this very much. Does not need to be torqued. It's got an O-ring, and we're done. That's all it needs, folks. Well, that was embarrassing. I shot that whole thing changing out this oil filter with zero sound. I have a new microphone and it's external, so it requires its own battery, so I have to kind of remind myself to always turn that on. So, oops. Oh well, we're learning. So the old oil filter, what I was trying to say at the time, was that there's actually quite a bit of flex and material and stuff, and I kind of expect that. I mean, it's a brand new bike, brand new engine, it's barely run, so it does have some manufacturing little shards and things inside the engine, so you would expect that. And so I'm actually kind of happy to see that and that the oil filter is doing its job. Now I gotta fill up the new oil in the tiny little oil plug in the corner here, and it takes 1.1 liters, so I just went ahead and put it in this container exactly to, well, between the 1000 milliliter and 1200 milliliter marks, so that way I know exactly what the capacity is. I'll pretty much dump almost all of this in there, and then I'll start checking, and then I can throw in more if I need to. Down the hatch. Click, 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 click. About 100 milliliters left in this container here. We'll take this guy out and check with our oil plug slash dipstick. Yep, gotta add more. Level-ish. There we go. Like the camera's gonna see that right in the middle. Actually, I think there's just a little bit of oil left in here, so we'll just dump the rest of that. So we'll be on the high side, but then we'll call it good. We put our cap back on. Make sure it's nice and snug. And we're done. Well, now we're done. Skid plate's back on. And so with that, we'll see you in this area in another 600 miles.